we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough.
Jermaine Jackson rock out for a minute. Shout out to Jermaine Jackson. Let's get serious. This is like late 70s, early 80s. Late 70s? Late 70s. You know, when he stayed with Motown and the Jacksons moved on to Epic. And his solo debut. Shout out to Jay. And the whole Jackson family, actually. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I hope that you are relaxed, that you are having a fantastic Super Tuesday. I hope that things are going well for you, that you got out there and voted if you're in California. It's important, right? And now you're ready to get into some trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture with me, Jill Munroe. Let me give you the rundown on what we're going to get into tonight. Well, actually, before I do that, let me remind you, if you're not already, hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580. I, of course, am at Stiletto Jill everywhere. Follow me, say hello. If at any point during this conversation you want to get in on it, give us a call, 800-920-1580. We're also on YouTube. There is a visual experience to go along with this audio experience. Check us out there. Hop in the chat. There's always lots of conversation going on there. Join us there. Say hi there, too. Now, tonight, we are going to talk about, Dr. Umar. He's an interesting character. He has a lot of opinions. Sometimes I rock with him. Other times I'm like, are you kidding me? But he recently had a conversation with Nick Cannon, and they covered a multitude of topics. But one of the things that they talked about was that Dr. Umar does not feel the Black community takes itself as seriously as other communities do, and that they don't do enough to protect themselves in some ways, or protect, what we allow to ride as far as the culture. So we're going to get into that, hear what he had to say, and break that topic down. We're also going to discuss Risa Tisa, the viral TikTok star. Her 50-part saga has landed her on the Tamron Hall show, Good Morning America, and now she's inked a deal with talent agency, a big one, CAA. And some people seem to be upset or mad that she is benefiting from this story. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, talk about what about the situation seems to be disturbing some spirits out there. We're going to get into that. And then in hour 3, Stephen A. Smith has revealed that Jay-Z called him when he was making comparisons to Beyonce and Rihanna. So obviously we know what the main theme of that is. Why are you comparing two Black women? But do we need to get more realistic about competition, or do we need to back up and stop being so sensitive every time conversations come up about artists? So we're going to get into that. But before we get into all of that, there are a couple of conversation starters, things we like to talk about that you need to be aware of, but we may not have time to fully get into. So first up, there was an Instagram, Facebook outage today. Did it impact you? They're back up and running, but, there was thousands of users that were out and reported the issue. It mysteriously happened earlier today. A Meta spokesperson said that, that they were working on it earlier. They made that announcement on X, ironically, where Elon was like, we're still going. But, listen, it also comes following an outage that happened with AT&T. And some are speculating that there might be some funny business going on because we are in a very important election year and there was voting happening. Andy, put it back on. I want to hear that's it? Well, I want to hear what you think about it. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that because we are so reliant on social media and our phones at this point in time that it, that could be the thought process?
I didn't want to say it, but you alluded to it. Today is election day, at least in California. Well, across the nation, it's election day.
Yeah, it is.
So, just put 2 and 2 together. I'm just saying, a lot of people, they go to social media for their news. You know what I'm saying? Their updates. Maybe they wanted more information on candidates or whatnot. So, I wouldn't put it past, the powers that be if they, did a little something to social media to kind of, sway people from either voting, not voting, whatever the case may be.
Anything can happen. I mean, last election cycle, it was bots. Who knows what's, going on now. Meta's indicated that they do not believe that they were, hacked or that anything ill happened other than it going down. So we'll have to see, but results are rolling in. So hopefully it didn't impact anybody too much and, people could cope for a little bit without the usage of social media. Andy?
Look, sometimes a good outage is good and it's necessary. I think it resets things. You know what I'm saying? It brings you back to reality. So,
because people are way too into the scroll. When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about this conversation that Dr. Umar and Nick Cannon had and see if you have any thoughts about it. Plus more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
Hey, LA, when you're trying to get where you need to go, like work, school, and what matters to you, Metro is here to get you there. With discounted fares and free pass programs, Metro is making public transportation affordable and easy to ride for everyone. Plan your trip at metro.net.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers!
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
1455 Frazee Road, Suite 1050, San Diego, California, 92108. CordellCordell.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So we've been talking a lot about women in hip hop as of late, and Ice Spice has announced that her debut album, Y2K, which is a very on-brand title and theme, I feel, is ready, and it's going to be dropping soon. So here's the test. We got the new ones coming up, dropping their complete albums. I mean, it's crazy to think about Sweetie hasn't even dropped a complete album at this point, just randomly. So now we'll see who's about to sell and what's really going on behind the, the hoopla. Andy?
Were we really checking for Sweetie, though?
I mean, I think in a way, like I said, there's no California rappers, right? Girls, women that are really out. Doja, kind of, but not really.
I'm counting Doja.
Sweetie's pretty. She went to SC. I would like to see her win and come with something.
Here's a problem with Sweetie. And I'm probably going to sound like a hater. I rock with Sweetie. But I just felt like she kind of cheated.
Why?
When you think about some of her most popular singles, they were
sample heavy
like a mug, and I don't know. In my opinion, if you're going to be a new artist, I want some original stuff, at least initially. You coming in the game, and I get it. Sometimes on mixtapes, you rap over other people's beats or whatnot, but like you're pushing these singles as like actual songs, like, I just wish he would have came with more original material as opposed to,
Does a sample automatically equal a hit? Like, are there instances, because I think there are, of people taking a hot song and making it a whack, redo, sample, interlope, whatever?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But I think about, yesterday's discussion, I played Whitney Houston's I'm Every Woman, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody was rocking with the Shaka Khan version. I don't know anything.
I like both.
But, some people said they like, the other one better. But I don't know. Which brings back to Ice Spice. Is there a single out right now in preparation for her album?
I don't think so. I don't, but she's Taylor Swift's BFF, so that's going to be helpful.
So just by her name alone, huh?
Probably. They had that little subpar collaboration, but she's been spotted everywhere with her, so I would imagine, good for them both to have another feature or something on the album, so that's going to help. I just think Ice Spice is for the kids, man,
I'm with you.
And we'll rock out with that. All right, so Dr. Umar, controversial figure, interesting at times. He had a conversation with Nick Cannon, and I thought that this was an interesting topic. He feels as though there are other communities that take their imagery or how you are allowed to joke about them, etc., more seriously than we do in the Black community. So I wanted to, listen to what he had to say and kind of break that down and talk about it. So let's get into it.
Should not the Black community that has been suffering way longer and way harder than the transgender community, why do we not also have the right to say what is acceptable and what is not on the comedic stage?
Because we have levity. Whether we go prior to Dick Gregory, all of our jokes initially started about, look how hard it is for us. But we still smiling, we still laughing. We laugh to keep from crying. In that sense, that humor does heal, but in order for it to heal, it has to reveal.
And one of the issues I have when we have these conversations is it always seems like that there's certain groups who benefit from qualified protectionism. So, for example, the LGBT community, they benefit from qualified protectionism. So even if you're making jokes about them for the purposes of comedy and humor, which historically has been accepted,
right,
you can be held accountable, and your career can be damaged because of it.
So I thought it was an interesting conversation, and I think one of the things is that I don't think currently we really allow others outside of our community to get away with certain jokes. They may push, but I think that there is pushback from the Black community around certain things. And comedy has been traditionally a safe space, and I miss us having that as a safe space because I think that it can bring a lot of things together and work a lot of things through with having some honesty about people's thoughts, even if they're not always appropriate on all sides. However, I do understand the point about us as a community maybe wanting to rein in some of the freeness that we've adopted as far as it comes to our community. Like it's been an interesting switch. Like you think about the cookout invite. As we've gone over time and you look around in the 2020s, it seems like it's not a good thing anymore to invite somebody to the cookout. It's not really acceptable. It's not cool. We are checking a lot of things that, let's say back in the 80s or 90s, would have flown because we felt like it might have been a commonality or someone making an attempt to at least understand something more about us and understand the parts where it intersects, Like family is family and everybody has issues with families. Granted, the way that our culture and maybe some other culture go about things is different, but at the end of the day, there are still some things that we can bond over. But I was just wondering, Andy, do you think as a whole, we as Black people don't take our image and put enough, maybe restraint isn't the right word, but enough guardrails up as far as what we let ride? We talk a lot about hip hop, especially women as of late. Do you think that we're not doing enough to protect our image?
This is a little bit confusing because I kind of don't understand the conversation a little bit.
He's saying that stuff we say maybe that's detrimental, or because I think he is talking about other comedians, but like Nick Cannon said, we are the ones in a lot of regards maybe that say things that are, maybe out of sorts, right? Like, for example, some of the jokes Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor said back in the day could no longer fly right now. Eddie's whole routine in Raw about pull over, highly inappropriate. He had to apologize for it 20 years later after doing it. We don't make anybody do that, is what Umar is saying. We aren't like, hey, you said this joke about black people. You said all black people have rhythm and they, dance when they're giving you an answer, and that's racist and a stereotype. Why aren't we harder even on our own comedians about the way that they portray black culture and black life? And he used the example of how the LGBTQ plus community, is quick to call somebody out. I don't think that's funny the way that you made that joke. I don't care if your intent wasn't to hurt. It's not funny, so you need to pull it or apologize. And Umar thinks we need to be doing a little bit more of that as far as our imaging or things that we let go.
I feel like our community does, though.
I feel like it does, too.
I mean, I feel like it comes from a sensitive place, right? But I feel like we call out everything. Anytime somebody makes a comment about Beyonce, we saying something.
I think so. I think it is that, though, too. I think initially because whenever you start off bringing awareness to situations, there's always an overcorrection. There's always the tendency to point out even the small moments of it, I think, because it had gone unchecked or overlooked for so long. But I also think the hallmark of acceptance, I guess, for a lack of a better term, is when everybody is really being treated the same. So I don't feel like in comedy, jokes about transgenders should be off limits if they're funny. Obviously, just making a joke about one is not. It has to be in some sort of context, but I think everybody can get it, I guess, is what I'm saying. And that's a form of acceptance, because if we tiptoe around, we hit white people hard, we hit us hard, but we're going to tiptoe around women, is that truly equality?
It's definitely not equality. I mean, the way I see comedy, nobody's off limits.
I think so too. Salome Thompson in the chat says it's a delicate issue, and it's not only. Remember when we were at Wheezy's neck over the Emmett Till line? Exactly. And so I guess those are the types of things. I disagree more that we don't call it out, but I can see how some might feel we don't take ourselves as seriously, and they're going to point to things like Red or Ice Spice or, Blueface and Krishan and say, but these are the type of things that we uphold and represent and show our interest in.
I guess what would be an example of taking things seriously?
He didn't say. I don't know. I can't speak for him.
That conversation was too vague for me. I don't know. It kind of went over my head.
So I feel that. I think it also, though, I think it stems from more at looking at the gains that have been made by that community as far as, their image and their rights and how they toed a line, even though they've taken inspiration from what we put forth in the civil rights movement. And I think, some people are feeling left out about some things or overlooked, I guess. Everyone is worried about being skipped over. For example, there is a lawsuit that a white man has launched against his former, a show that he was on. He was let me find it because I wasn't actually planning on talking about it now, but it fits. So there's a CBS show called SEAL Team, and there's a white man that was a script coordinator and freelancer on it, and he's been on the show for years, and he claims he was denied a writing position because he's a straight white guy, and that the favorite groups, women and people of color, are the ones that are taking all of the jobs, and that it is an illegal policy. So, white men are taking their cues from, what I think are some white women and some of the movements that we have had and trying to strike back. And of course, this relates to the team that used to work for Trump and they are doing all of these lawsuits. But I think people are feeling like as others are gaining rights or control over their imagery or some say-so in that, they feel it's taking away, their liberties and rights of others.
There's always a section of people that's going to feel like, oh, this section of people is taking our stuff. That white guy, that sounds like white privilege in a lot of ways. I mean, if you look at Hollywood, I mean, the running
numbers
things.
Still, white.
You know what I'm saying?
He's gonna lose. It's ridiculous, but he is striking back, which a lot of people are. It is the pushback on the DEI movement. There's just a report that came out about Wall Street and how they are rolling back their DEI efforts because white men feel that they are being overlooked and they don't feel like the programs are working.
Privilege like a mug. I'm sorry. Y'all run this damn country. It's more y'all than it is us. But I guess I don't know what year that is, 2045 or 2035. It's going to be
the flips.
Yeah, it's going to be more of us than them, and I understand that they're afraid, but I don't know. It just sounds like a privileged individual speaking.
I mean, it very much is to a degree. The other thing that I find interesting when they push back so hard from that, to me, it says, well, you know exactly what you have been doing all along, because why are you so afraid to be in the position that we are all in? Why was it fair when, it was mostly you guys in the roles and we were scraping for the crumbs, and now you're scared and you feel like it's no way for you to win? I find that interesting because you tell us every day that we are imagining things and that, we're just not good enough. So you're in the same position and you're crying, like not even out of a job, just whatever. He's suing for $500,000, he says, in the salary that he's missed over the years, as well as a producer credit on the show. But the thing, some writers have come out and said that they have worked with him and that he was weird and just not very good at his job and not personable, which, to your point, is the epitome of privilege, because you don't even realize that maybe it's you and you're just not getting ahead because you're not good. I suppose that's the same thing they say about us.
I mean, come on now. You tripping over discrimination and stuff like that, man. Our people's been discriminated for over 400 plus years. You know what I'm saying? Fighting for reparations right now.
And they are not for it. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. New York City Mayor Eric Adams isn't saying a whole lot following last week's FBI raid of a top aide. Last Thursday, the FBI visited two Bronx homes of Winnie Greco, a former fundraiser for Adams, who is now his director of Asian Affairs. Adams, who is black, says he can't answer the question when asked why he thinks the feds are investigating his aides. The top lawyer for the Adams administration says there's been no indication the mayor is the target of any investigation. The Reverend Al Sharpton is in Memphis today giving the eulogy for a Shelby County jail inmate who died after what was labeled severe neglect and body insect infestations. 42-year-old Ramon McGee was taken to the hospital in January after being found unresponsive in his cell. Other inmates who died at the facility will be eulogized by Sharpton as well. The families of the inmates who filed lawsuits are being represented by black civil rights attorney Ben Crump. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
California just launched the Certified Wellness Coach profession to help your workforce meet the increased demands for youth mental health services. Learn more at cawellnesscoach.org, supported by the California Department of Health Care Access and Information.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Last night I saw you standing, and I started pretending I knew you, and you knew me too. And just like a romance, you were too shy, but you weren't the only cause, so was I. And I dreamed of you ever since. Now I build up my confidence that next time you come my way, I know just what to say. Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name.
Welcome back in. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to Tevin Campbell. Can we talk? I was watching, or not watching, there was a conversation on Twitter about that song and how, it's had a resurgence, especially like a brunch resurgence, even though it was obviously a hit back in the 90s, but it wasn't like the song. People were more swinging to like Alone with You or some of the other ones or whatever. And it's, I guess, more beloved by millennials than the Gen X's that it came for. I don't know, but we like hearing good music. So anyway, you were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So kind of, I think this fits along those lines, with these lawsuits that have been in conversation and the friendships and so forth. There's been a conversation on this show around how can we help people protect them from themselves, because in some of these instances, the desire for fame or money has allowed people to let their guards down and be placed in situations that they obviously wouldn't want to be in. So recently, Cedric the Entertainer was having a conversation on $1 Million Worth of Game, and the subject turned to standing in your power, basically. Just because you are in a lesser position, don't underestimate where you are and what you bring to the table. And so I want to hear what he has to say, but then I have a follow-up question that I want to talk about. So let's get into that.
But no, when you look at the game now, man, and you're an OG, and there's so many on social media, there's so many young comics stepping in the game. What advice could you give them, and what did you make any bad moves, business moves coming up, or any game that you could give them that they could utilize in their journey? Because they listening.
I think, the real thing is like, a lot of times it's not to give over your power to somebody you think they got more power.
Meaning?
Like a lot of times we start our business and we build it up. And I think y'all are great examples, right? You said, even when I was just asking you about this earlier on, you like, we own our, right? But to see somebody come and try to offer you a deal, you'll think that they know more than you.
Yep.
And you will say, let me give y'all my so that I can go be better. And yet, my partner right there, me and Rome been together for 30 years. Like since my sophomore year in college and his freshman year.
So my question is, how do you know when to hold the line, and how do you know when to compromise or to give in? Because if you are trying to get a break, right? Is it just you pray for discernment, obviously, but you don't know what you don't know? So in an industry, I feel like sometimes that's why people get caught up. One, just by what he said, not recognizing that they have more power, more agency than what they believe they do. But two, there is the very real aspect that if it is someone that is already in said industry, whatever it is, they experience does have some benefits and does provide you with some things that you may not know. So how do you gauge what is overstepping a boundary and what is simply you in your early stages and still learning things from this individual or getting to give? Because realistically, no one is going to, for the most part, just help you without expecting some type of return on their investment. So I just wonder what the line is that you draw, or how do you make that decision as someone young in the game? Do you say, what I've been doing is working, so I'm just going to continue on? I mean, there's this old saying, like, if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go, no, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, work collaboratively. And I feel like that is something that, people deal with. How do you gauge? You can only study so much. At some point, you have to make the jump. And then when you do, right, because you have to give to get in a lot of these situations, and there is a fair point. I guess that depends on your version of fair. But how do you, at that point, then say, hey, maybe I gave up too much of my IP or my idea? That's what I think people struggle with, that balance. You hope they have advisors, but if they're brand new, who do they really turn to? People are always like, oh, you should have a lawyer and you should have an agent. But a lot of those times people don't necessarily work with people that are not established, or at least established in a certain way. So how do you walk through and balance giving up something and understanding that you need to learn and grow, but still not being taken advantage of? Andy?
Well, I think it starts from just recognizing the power that you have. I think a lot of us are walking around doing things and are equipped with quote unquote power, and they involve themselves with deals and transactions, but even throughout that process, they're not recognizing the power that they have, so they can go ahead and protect whatever it is that they're presenting and whatnot. So I think it just starts from being aware of the power that you have, and I think a lot of us are walking around not knowing that we have power.
But have you ever seen instances of people where you're like, you are hedging too much? You're lucky that, not all the time, not like this, but you're lucky that you're getting an opportunity, a platform, a position, or whatever, because we also can be guilty of, false ego in some moments.
True. But I probably would still lean on advocating for yourself, like, present a high ball number as opposed to a lower ball number. And if somebody feels that, your ego's too high or whatnot, then deal with it. But I would still want to act as if like I'm the ish, you know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Because that also sounds like somebody that's trying to take advantage of you as well too. For somebody to be like, yeah, you're thinking too much of yourself or whatnot, you got to be cautious of that too.
You do, because people will definitely try and push you down to be able to manipulate you more. Kendi in the chat says, you learn the lines the way you learn anything else, trial and error. Of course, but I guess the reason why I'm asking, we all know that, but there seems to be a lot of regret with the error and whose fault it is when you end up in a less than favorable business situation. Were you taken advantage of, or did the situation warrant as such? Whose fault is it if you don't know? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a range in there. And realistically, how much for the average individual do you expect them to go and get? It's so easy to say, well, I would have had a lawyer look at it. Do you know that this is the right type of lawyer? Because people will go get a lawyer and it's not an entertainment lawyer, or they don't know contracts, or they practice an entirely different type of law. Urban Spinster points out, which is something, I mentioned as well, the affordability of an attorney is also a thing. Now, they're hourly rates, but it's scary to put out your money. Obviously, you want to protect yourself, but in some aspects, you might feel like I'm putting out this money that I don't have on a dream and still might be screwed. And that's how people end up disgruntled. Andy?
I mean, the key word is education. You know what I mean? Like, even with the whole attorney situation, because I'm with that, you know. It does suck that attorneys are very high, but sounds like we need to crack open that law book, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, defend yourself.
But then people get mad or they get upset. They come back and they're like, oh, they took advantage of that, or, oh, you know, I didn't know what, you know, we've seen these situations we've talked about with salary requirements and things like, oh, I worked for free and now I'm mad. Or, oh, you know, Terrence Howard, I only got paid $12,000 for Hustle and Flow. And it went on da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, in my mind, I'm like, well, you were enough of a star at that time. Maybe not a big star, but had some cachet. Could you not have asked for a point? Was that completely off the table? Recognizing that as you ask for these points, the portion of it gets sliced and sliced and sliced, and it may or may not mean anything, but, you know, I'm not sure. Forensic Accountant says, I've learned to take advice from the women in my life. True. But that also has to start with you having good discernment, because not everybody has good women in their life to take advantage of. It's just, you know, we look at people like, for example, I'll take the Ball brothers, right? And there are a lot of people that are like, LeVar Ball, great dad, was guiding his kids. He did what he had to do to put his kid on the main stage. Of course, entrepreneur, black business. Why can't he start a shoe line, right? But he messed a lot of stuff up. He may have messed up Lonzo's career, at least, with bad footwear. We don't know for sure, but we know those shoes weren't wear tested. They weren't good. They fell apart on the court. Lonzo talked about how he wasn't comfortable rocking them. I mean, what I can tell you for fact, for example, is Nike takes a lot of time to wear test their shoes. They put them through a lot, you know, to see what they have. People forget about that when they say, I want to start a performance line of some sort, or things like that. That stuff matters because that's what protects you from injury. You know, a look does not mean that it is going to protect you or preserve you or make sure that you stop and pivot and it's going to hold your ankle or protect all of those things. So that's just a random thought. You know, it's an interesting conversation. It's just, I feel like with so much information available, it is still kind of scary to me how often and in what manner people are being taken advantage of by some of these things, especially in the name of fame and stardom.
Well, it's going to get more scarier with AI.
Man, AI is ridiculous. Like, some of these, we've talked about the videos that are out there on YouTube and these channels grow very, very quickly. And it's obvious lies. And I've noticed they've started putting disclaimers in the comment section saying that it's gossip, rumors, hearsay, and for entertainment purposes. And I'm like, that still doesn't say it's okay to lie. And even with it saying that, it still is racking up the views. So it makes you wonder, do people enjoy being lied to and misled? Because sometimes I feel like they do. Sometimes I feel like people really go out of their way to avoid the truth because escapism is at an all-time high because things are so weird currently.
Well, nobody's about to go to the library and try to crack open the book to find the truth in certain things. So, you know, I don't think that people enjoy being lied to. They're just going to gravitate towards something that's quick and digestible as opposed to reading a 500-page book to find some sort of truth in something.
I mean, but I feel like it's so easy now. You can listen to Audible books. You can read a book on your phone. There's so many different ways that you can take in the information.
That's true, but, you know, some people are going to say, well, that's not a credible source, too.
And the fact that everything credible is being questioned as to what is and isn't is scary too, because truth is out the window. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Canick, and I'm on your March 5th primary ballot running to represent you on the County Central Committee. I know you just said the County Central what? The County Central Committee. It's an intentionally confusing way to say LA County Democratic Party, but it's the perfect way if you want to keep the status quo. County Central Committee members or delegates set the tone, policy, and vision of your Democratic Party. Far too often, voters skip over this section, and that's why the Democratic Party has fallen out of touch with today's Democrat. Let's change that on Election Day by electing me, Jasmine Cannon. I'm a community advocate, a journalist, and a political activist who has worked at all levels of government. I live in reality, and I understand that we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I believe the Democratic Party can do more and do better. It's our future, our party. Let's make it better together. You can find out more about me at voteforjasmine.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. As I always mention, the YouTube chat is bustling with conversation, so we're going to get to some of those comments. Thomas Outlaw says, sometimes I think the only difference between success and failure is intuition plus education and some luck. I mean, I would agree. I think discernment is going to take you far. Intuition, like you said, and just the ability to keep focused on the ultimate goal, because people get sidetracked by distractions all of the time, or they start living someone else's idea of a dream or whatever. Definitely is some of it is luck and a lot of focus. And like you said, intuition. Forensic accountant says, I absolutely use what I learn on the streets every day in my work life. Of course, I have certifications in anti-money laundering and fraud detection and prevention, but the streets taught me that when I see something, it's exactly what I think it is. And I think one of the benefits, I'll say, because people are always like, college is a scam and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I understand the cost. We can talk about that. But the concept as a whole, I definitely don't think of as a scam or that it's worthless. Sure, there are ways and things that you can do, but what I think college does that maybe, again, and there's other ways that you can get this. One, it teaches you sometimes to work in a group or team setting, accountability with less parameters locked in. And it also teaches you about life because you're dealing with all types of personality types and moving parts and things around. I think that, but again, that's what goes to experience or actually doing things in the real world, because I also think people get locked in the idea that it can only go one way. And there's several ways that you can go about things and make things happen in this lifetime. At any rate, let's talk about some money moves that are happening. So, if you're into golf, the PGA Tour has been having a rough couple of years. A lot of the players left to go to, I think it was Live, which was the Saudi Arabian Golf Association, better money, more money, things of that nature. And the PGA was struggling. Tiger Woods going through his sort of retirement, but he's back, caused a big hit for the game. There are young stars, but no stars that we as a culture are attached to. But golf is very big now when you talk to a lot of black people. It's a lot of, surely you've heard about J.R. Smith, who got a scholarship to play for, I think it was North Carolina A&T on their golf team. And it's heavy. Golf is big right now. We see all the top golfs and all of that. So it's big. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Steph Curry and, his big shots in the off season and things of that nature. So it is, making its way back into our community. Well, the PGA just received a major round of funding, and there are some big names that are committed to growing the brand. According to the New York Times, both Drake and LeBron James are part of a group that recently financed as much as $3 billion for the PGA Tour. Other backers in this include actor Chris Pratt, you know him from all the Marvel movies, Steve Stout, LeBron's business partner Maverick Carter, and his agent Rich Paul. And in addition to capital, Drake and LeBron will be considered strategic investors, i.e. they're going to tap into them as far as, targeting and audiences and branding, using their marketing and influence to help the tour expand its audience. So prior to this, it's also attracted investors from the Fenway Sports Group that includes Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank, the Mets owner Steve Cohen, and more. So if you thought you were getting tired of golf coverage, expect it to ramp up and expect to see your favorites and more hip hop intertwined in the golf game. And hopefully we'll see more black players on the course and making waves there. So we shall see what happens. Listen, we are getting ready for hour 2. We're going to talk about Risa Tisa because she seems to have the people upset at her success. So we're going to get into that and what's happening with her deal, all of that and more trending topics and headlines. Of course, on the other side, you are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.